Hello, everybody. We greet you from the Chicago Stadium this Sunday afternoon, where the Detroit Red Wings are going to see if they can win just their 4th game away from home this season, facing the Chicago Blackhawks. Sid, the Red Wings have now been mathematically eliminated from any playoff contention. Will that loosen them up?
I
Yes
don't
or no?
know. I don't think it will, Bruce. They haven't been playing well lately, and here we are on the road. But they have one thing, I think, going for them today. Chicago are a team with a lot of injuries. They have a lot of their key players are not playing today. And if the Wings are ever going to win a hockey game, this is one club that they have a chance. They haven't lost to them in the 3 previous games. They've been tied a couple times, but I would think they have a chance to win today.
One of the fellows who has played so well for the Red Wings in the last 16 games that they've had trouble with has to be Dale McCourt. Sid, he has really taken on the load of scoring.
Well, he has been going, really. Dale McCourt's had a terrific second half. He's scored 30-some points in the last 23 games. And while Dale has been carrying the club, fellows like Mike Foligno and Ogrodnik and Larson have let up, and that's made it really tough.
Well, the Red Wings and the Chicago Blackhawks are getting set to get this hockey game underway, and we'll be back with the opening face-off in just a moment. So here in Chicago, the singing of the national anthem. You look at the 3 officials for the game. Bruce Hood will be the referee. Willard Norris, Bob Luther, the 2 linesmen. Tony Esposito, how long's he been around? In the right of the screen on television, and he'll be in our right so far as our radio broadcast is concerned. In goal for Chicago, and Larry Lazinski making the start for the Detroit Red Wings tonight. Or this afternoon, if you will. The Wings will start the hockey game with their line of Dale McCourt, John Ogrodnik, and Mike Foligno. Jean Hamel and Willie Huber back along the defense in front of Lazinski. And the Chicago Blackhawks move their highly talented and rather successful rookie, Denis Savard, in at center with Reggie Kerr on one wing, and over on the other side, Tim Higgins. And from the opening face-off, puck bouncing at center ice, and Jean Hamel swings it into the Chicago zone. In behind his own goal, Keith Brown. His pass bounced out center ice. Dale McCourt in a race for it, getting there first. Savard, he took the shot, and he fired it wide. Puck held in at the line by Wilson, but they whistled it down offside. So there's the face-off out over the Detroit line.
There's the speed of that rookie Savard. They're talking here in Chicago that he deserves the Rookie of the Year award, and he's having a great year. He's got 70-some points.
Well, there are a few pretty fair rookies around the National Hockey League.
There sure are this year.
Denis Savard. Now it's Nedemansky, Brad Smith, and Jim Korn up on the left wing for the Wings. Play is in the Detroit zone. That's Kerr going in behind the Red Wing goal. Perry Miller gave him a bump. They hold it there. Kerr trying to dig it away. Miller has it tied up in his skates. Puck held in by the Hawks. Higgins laid it in behind the goal. Savard put it right out in front, and Lazinski grabs it right in the goal mouth. And the play will stay off to the left of the Detroit goal.
And you know, Reed Larson just made a play there that the Wings have failed to make in the past 3-4 weeks. He had his man covered out in front and used his body and took him out of the play so that there wouldn't be any chance of him getting the loose puck out in front of Lazinski.
And our congratulations to Reed and Mrs. Larson, who became the parents of a little baby girl.
I should
Yesterday
say.
morning, Reed came in just this afternoon to join his teammates. Tom Lysiak, who's been the leader of the Chicago club since his trade from the Flames, out at center ice. Puck rolls back into the Chicago zone. Coming back after it, Rich Preston clearing it into the corner. And Miles Zaharko played it ahead, and here's Lysiak moving out center ice, carrying into the Detroit zone. Lysiak handing it back to Zaharko. It goes into the corner. Peter Marsh knocked away from him by Curtin, slides back into the Chicago end with Murray back after it for the Hawks. His pass going all the way down the ice. They wave off an icing, so John Barrett of the Wings lifts it into the corner for Willie Huber. He lost it out in front. Here's a setup right out in front of the goal. And Lazinski came in and made the save on Murray, who was set up by Lysiak, but a big mistake right in deep in the Detroit end, Sid.
Well, a mistake deep in Detroit zone, and watch Lysiak go for the loose puck. Lazinski started to come out for it and then decided not to. Lysiak left it for Murray. Lazinski made the save, then made the save on the rebound, too. Two big saves by Lazinski here early in the period to keep the score tied.
Bob Murray was talking to himself. He slapped his stick along the ice. Face-off stays to the left of the Detroit goal. The Wings are still another combination now with Brent Peterson, Ingerfield, and Hicks. John Hamel and Larson back along the defense. Now Hamel goes in behind his own net. Cleared it along the boards. It was held in the Detroit end. Larson picks it up. Comes out to center ice with it. His pass tipped right back into the Detroit end. Glenn Hicks shot it back out center ice, so Murray drives it right back into the Detroit zone. Taken along the boards by Brent Peterson. Worked it out to center ice, and the Hawks shoot it back in again. Now it's up the right side. Larson tipped it ahead, sliding back into the Chicago zone, going after it. Ingerfield prevented an icing as he got to it first. Here's a pass out, right out in front of the goal, but knocked away by defenseman Murray. And the Hawks come back. Back into the Detroit zone. A drop pass. There's a shot by Lysiak, and he drilled it wide, and he was open. Now it's held in. Here's Murray with a shot. The save made by Lazinski. And it's all Chicago. They have the play deep in the Detroit zone. Number 17, Peter Marsh, held out of the play by John Hamel. And coming out, Larson. Ahead now to Ingerfield. Earl Ingerfield just flipped the shot. Esposito knocked it away, and coming out with it now. The Hawks bring it out center ice. Greg Fox, he lost it. Here now Dale McCourt to Foligno with a shot right on. And the rebound is in the net. They have scored. That was the first shot the Wings have had at Tony Esposito, and it bounced in off of him.
This puck hit Esposito up on the shoulder, dropped between his legs, and he didn't know it was there. Mike Foligno following the play in, just knocked it. A hard, high shot by Foligno. Hits Esposito up high and drops right down between his legs, and he looked backwards. And Foligno following the play in, he must have tipped it because he was covered by two Chicago players, but he just pushed it in the net.
It was Foligno who actually started the play. He broke up the Chicago move, handed it off to McCourt, who gave it back to Foligno, who gets the Red Wings on the board, 1-0. Now it's center ice, play knocked away, John Marks, and Barry Miller collide, and here's Ogrodnik carrying back into the Chicago end. Checked before he could get through. Now John Marks handed it off to Sharpley. His return pass held in at the line by Greg Fox. Into the corner, Marks. He fanned on a pass, still kicking away at it. They take the puck in along the boards. It's still loose, so Ogrodnik lifts it down the ice, and there'll be an icing call as the Hawks are back after it. So we have a pause in the action. Detroit leading 1-0. We'll be back in a moment. Now the play right back into the Detroit zone, and a wicked shot fired by Keith Brown, and Lazinski came up with another fine save.
Well, Detroit is they're backing in a little too much. You can't let these fellas move in through the slot 15, 20 feet out in front of the net. He could have walked in another 5 feet if he'd wanted to. Lazinski made a fine pad save, then grabbed the loose puck before anybody could jump on it.
Mike Foligno with his 28th goal of the season. He hasn't scored in the last 9 games, so it has to feel pretty good to him. He'd had only 2 goals in the last 16. Now the play goes in behind the Red Wing goal, and after it Larson up on the right side, and Nedomansky just lifts it all the way back down the ice again. Brown back after it, and another icing call against the Wings, so the play will come right back into the Detroit end. The Stars come out at night. The votes are in and ballots tabulated. Your choice for the Oscars. It's a TV special presentation with hosts Pat and Debbie Boone tonight at 7 o'clock.
I was talking about Chicago injuries earlier. Dave Hutchison is out of the lineup. Terry Ruskowski, one of their leaders. Darryl Sutter, Ted Bully, all big names on the Chicago club.
Now the play is carried in behind the Detroit goal. A centering pass by Savard. A backhand shot, and Higgins scores. Tim Higgins fired it by. Lazinski just didn't have a chance on it. And Sid, with the exception of the one scoring play, the Red Wings haven't had to play in the Chicago end at all.
It's been all Chicago. There again, both defensemen took the player directly out in front of the net and left Higgins out about 5-6 feet out further. He just turned around and backhanded the puck. Lazinski didn't even know he had shot it. Ties this game up in a hurry.
So Higgins gets his 23rd goal of the year. 3 minutes and 44 seconds to tie the game at 1-1. Now Lysiak carries back into the Detroit zone. Tried to center it. Larson knocked it away. Netemansky up the left side to Jim Korn. Korn over the line into the corner. Being checked there by Murray, who hauled him to the ice. Zaharko didn't work it out. Here's Netemansky with a shot wide of the Chicago goal. Taken off the boards now by Marsh. He played it ahead to Lysiak. Back to Peter Marsh into the Detroit zone. Netemansky came back to break that up. And the puck ends up in the crowd. Higgins will get the goal. Savard made the play to him.
Assisted by number 18, Denis Savard. Number 24, Doug Wilson.
And Doug Wilson, the defenseman, draws the other assist. Keith Magnuson in behind the Chicago bench. He has seen his team carry the play almost continually through the first 4.5 minutes of this period. Here comes a penalty over on the far side, and the Red Wings, who have themselves in a tie, now will play short a man as Curtin will go in. We'll be back with the Chicago power play in a moment. Willie Huber conducting quite a conversation with the referee, Bruce Hood. But Mark Curtin is in the penalty box, 4 minutes and 21 seconds.
Well, it was kind of a simple call. Curtin tried to take a player out along the boards and got caught.
I think what the Wings were arguing a little bit about was Korn. Murray had him really lassoed just a moment ago down inside the Chicago zone. So now the Hawks have the extra man. Moving it out is Wilson. Doug Wilson carrying into the Detroit zone. A drop pass for Marsh. Puck slid right to the Detroit net, so it's grabbed there by Lazinski. And we'll have a face-off out to the right of the Red Wing goal. They've used up 20 seconds of the penalty time to Detroit's Mark Curtin.
The assist by Savard breaks the all-time rookie record here for Chicago Blackhawk, and going way back into my days, Billy Mosienko had it, 70 points. This is Savard's 71st point of the season.
Well, he's made the whole play, too.
Oh, he's a great little hockey player. There's no doubt about it.
Now Lysiak in against Dale McCourt. Puck came back to the line for Doug Wilson. Wilson clearing it toward the corner. Moving with it there, Rich Preston. Preston hands it back on the left point to Wilson. Now in the circle again to Preston. Preston put it out in front. It bounced away there. Ends up in the corner. Brent Peterson went in after it. Didn't get to it. Larson, though, got a stick on it. Handed it to McCourt, and he clears it back into the Chicago end. Murray will come back after it. Minute and 10 seconds remaining in the power play for Chicago as Lysiak streaks over the line. Back into the Detroit zone. Being shoved off the puck by Barrett. Murray held it in. Here's Murray going deep in the corner. Playing it back along the boards to Lysiak. Lysiak tried to center it. Knocked away by Barrett. And it's Brent Peterson again who clears it back down the ice. 50 seconds remaining in the penalty. Wilson hands it off to Murray. Bob Murray bringing it out to center ice. Now Murray up on the right side. Play goes into the Detroit zone. Came back to the line, bounced away from Murray, and comes back out center ice. Now Wilson starts Preston back into the Detroit zone. Savard laid it off to the side of the net, being bothered there by Reed Larson, and Larson takes the loose puck and shoots it back into the Chicago zone with 20 seconds remaining in the Detroit penalty. Now Denis Savard lost the puck at center ice. Sean Amell cleared it all the way back into his own end. Back after it, Willie Huber. Huber's pass bounces ahead, picking it up as Hicks. He's got Hamel with him. Hicks just took a long shot, and he fired it just wide. As Esposito seemed to make a late move on that one. They go in behind the goal, hold it there. They'll keep the face-off in the Chicago end. Penalty is over to Mark Curtin.
You know, I've said all along that Esposito has trouble with long shots, and he appeared to be beaten on that shot of Hicks.
The Red Wings have only 2 home games remaining at the Joe Louis Arena. Next Thursday against Pittsburgh, the Penguins at 7:30. And then next Saturday, April 4th, against the Buffalo Sabres, an afternoon game at 1:30. Tickets available at the Joe Louis, Hudson's, and all the CTC outlets. Willie Huber back on the right point, moving in, drove a shot, and the save made by Esposito. He knocked that away through traffic. Coming right back down the ice, over the line, John Marks. Marks handing it back to Grant Mulvey. Mulvey along the boards, trying to work away from Dale McCourt. Still kicking at it. His pass knocked away this time by Perry Miller. Ike Foligno slapped it out to center ice, and Marks of Chicago comes back after it. He lost it to Foligno. Foligno ahead to Ogrodnik. Now John Ogrodnik shot it in behind the Chicago goal. The Hawks, Zaharko clears it up on the left wing for Marks. Here now Glenn Sharpley bringing it over the line into the Detroit zone. His pass out in front. There's a shot by Marks. The save made by Lazinski. And the puck sent all the way back into the Chicago end. And Lazinski has played well. He's had to as the game stays 1-1. Now Mulvey clearing it ahead, picking it up. Marks carrying back into the Detroit zone. Sharpley let a weak shot go that Lazinski stops easily. And the wings clear it out center ice to Foligno. Three of the wings over the line. Foligno faking the shot, drove it into the corner, and it'll be Greg Fox of Chicago going in after it. Now Fox bringing it out, clearing it into the corner deep in the Detroit end. Larson goes in behind his own goal. Reed Larson trying to work away from the check of Robideau, and they do. The wings come out with it. Dale McCord up the left side to Hicks. He took the shot, and a good save that time by Esposito. Fox bumped Hicks rather heavily into the boards, and coming back, Lysiak. Back into the Detroit zone, trying to work away from Larson. Larson took him off the puck. Lazinski cleared it up the left side for Hicks. He's checked immediately. Pulled away from his check, and it'll be Larson. Bringing it out now to center ice. Reed Larson over the line into the Chicago zone. Larson pulled it out in front, took a shot that deflected off to the side of the net. Robideau played it in behind his own net, in after Ingerfield. It came back, a chance for Barrett with a drive, and Esposito knocked that away. Now the Wings have started to carry the play a bit. Puck driven along the boards to Preston, rather to Patterson, Rick Patterson. Sending it out center ice. Robideau takes it over the line into the Detroit zone. For Robideau having trouble at the line, knocked away from him. Here's Joe Patterson of the Wings. Pass broken up by Doug Wilson. John Barrett brings it back into the Chicago zone. Now Barrett being chased by Keith Brown. Played it back to the line. Gary McAdam held it in there. McAdam clearing it off the side of the net. Patterson of the Wings has it there. Bumped off the puck by Brown, then sent to the ice. And the puck is driven back into the Detroit end. There'll be an icing call. And so with the score tied at 1-1, we'll be back in just a moment. Well, after the stoppage of play, a gathering of the Klan out in front of the Detroit bench. A lot of shoving going on, but nothing more than that. I think it started from that play down in the corner.
I think it started away back in the corner, really. Chicago got away by pulling a Detroit player, Patterson, right down when he was trying to make a play on the puck. They come up, and Ingerfield, it was Ingerfield that got pulled down, in fact, in the corner, and Ingerfield got in a little pushing match out here in center ice, and the other players come in. There's going to be a couple penalties called because of it. McAdam is getting a penalty for Detroit. And Keith Brown, I guess, for Chicago.
Detroit penalty, number 19, Gary McAdam. 2 minutes for roughing. Blackhawk penalty, number 4, Keith Brown. 2 minutes for slashing at 9:12.
So I imagine you heard the slashing call to Brown, the roughing call to Gary McAdam.
In the NBA this afternoon,
Face-off will be to the right side of the Chicago goal. Game tied 1-1. Each team will play short a man. Mark Curtin and Joe Patterson for the Wings with Perry Miller and Willie Huber. Curtin won the draw. Miller took the shot, knocked away, picks it up again, put it out in front. Mark Curtin was tripped, and here comes another penalty to Tim Higgins. And he doesn't like this call, but he's going to go off for tripping, so Detroit will have the man advantage, and we'll be back with our power play after this message. Sid, this might be considered a weak penalty, really, with Tim Higgins just making a play on the puck.
Well, the pass was made from Miller to Curtin, though, and it was kind of a quick pass, and as Curtin wheeled to try and get it, I actually think that was a good call by the referee. Higgins got his stick involved with Curtin's feet, give him a little pull, and
so
although Curtin, I believe, finished it off in great style.
So McCourt wins the draw. The Wings are one man short. Chicago 2. John Ogrodnik goes in behind the Hawks goal, pulled away from Lysiak in the corner to Dale McCourt. Little short passes aren't getting them any place. It comes out to Willie Huber. He tried to set up McCourt. They kick away at it. Here's Bob Murray picking it up and firing it down the ice. So the Wings did not move in front of Esposito at all. And Willie Huber comes back of his own goal to retrieve it. Now Dale McCourt will head out. McCourt coming out center ice. Over the line. Here's McCourt holding up at the point. In the corner to John Ogrodnik. Back on the right point to Willie Huber to Dale McCourt. Now McCourt hands it back to Huber. They're still outside. Into the corner now to Foligno. Mike Foligno turning it into the circle, skating it all the way back to the blue line. And then handed it back to Huber at the right point again. The opposite point. Finally, Dale McCourt took the shot, and Esposito stopped that. And Murray picks it up and fires it down the ice. Willie Huber plays it up center ice. Mike Foligno had it skip away from him. And Miles Zaharko cleared it back into the Detroit zone. Patterson going after Huber. The puck came back to Willie. Wings have the extra man for a half a minute. Here now Foligno. It bounced off of Dale McCourt. McCourt picked it up again. He's trying to set up Willie Huber. Huber moved in after it, took a shot. Esposito stopped that. And again, it's driven down the ice by the Hawks' Greg Fox. Detroit have been in close, but have not really threatened all that much. Here now is McCourt coming out to center ice again. Dale McCourt carries over the line, but he's met right there by Doug Wilson. And the puck again cleared back into the Detroit end with Reed Larson to get it. Wings are back at full strength, and Chicago just now getting back to full strength. So the Hawks effectively cut off the Red Wing power play. Reed Larson at his own blue line now to Nedomansky, back to Larson. Larson being watched by John Marks. Marks took it away from him. Here's Marks with a shot, and Perry Miller deflected it high up into the crowd. So the game remains at a 1-1 tie. Sid, while we have a second, Bob Slater in Detroit has mentioned a couple of times that if there's one hockey club that has a great record in the Michigan area, and we'd want to congratulate them too, it would be the Crestwood Dodge Ram Chargers and Squirt AAA. These are the 10-year-old kids, but you know their record this year? Last week checked, it was something like 53 wins, 1 loss, 2 ties, a state championship. They have just done everything you could ask of a young hockey club, and our congratulations go out to them.
It sure is. It's amazing how many games these kids play nowadays. There's the Forum Club. We have so many fans from Detroit over, include 40 or 50 of the Forum Club, and there has to be 20 or 30 other people. In fact, if I get an opportunity later, I probably have 40 or 50 names down here.
There's a quick shot right from the face-off, fired by Grant Mulvey of Chicago. Play stays deep in the Detroit zone. Perry Miller, he tried to dump it up the right side. Marks took it away. John Marks, his pass knocked away this time, brought out by Nedomansky. Now Vasilov Nedomansky up the left wing to Jim Korn. He sent it back to Nedomansky. Nedomansky given a bump, still held it in. Here's Brad Smith back at the blue line with it. Took the shot, deflected away, came right out in front. And Korn just couldn't find the handle on it as he was being checked. Now Mulvey played it back into the Detroit zone. It came back to the blue line. Nedomansky had it there, lost it for the moment as Glenn Sharpley sent it in behind the Detroit goal. We have 7.5 minutes to play in the first period, a 1-1 tie. Nedomansky lifting it back into the Chicago zone. Doug Crossman lost it right out in front, picked it up a second time. Now Higgins sweeps it up on the left wing, and here's Kerr bringing it back into the Detroit zone. Reg Kerr, his pass deflected into the corner by Willie Huber. They struggle in along the boards. It'll be held in by Zaharko. Put it out in front of the Detroit goal, but it'll be taken now by Korn. Jim Korn just lifted it down the ice, and the Wings go for a player change. Miles Zaharko back along the Chicago defense. Lifts it ahead to Bob Murray. Murray's pass too far out in front of Kerr, and Huber bangs it back out center ice. Murray took a swing at it. Glenn Hicks brought it back into the Chicago end. Took a pretty good check from Murray. Now Kerr. Kerr clearing it back to the center ice zone. Willie Huber up on the right side. Ingerfield played it back into his own end now for John Barrett. On the right side to Huber. Huber up at center ice. Here's Ingerfield over the line, moving into the backhand shot. And that went off Esposito. Barrett held it in the Chicago zone. John Barrett dumped it in behind the goal. Ingerfield went in to dig it out there. Keith Brown takes him to the boards. They have that puck locked there for the moment. Ingerfield got it loose, put it out in front. But that'll be broken up, and Zaharko clears it ahead. At the Detroit blue line, Barrett of the Wings. Now John Barrett swinging it up the right side for Willie Huber. Here's Huber back into the Chicago end with a shot. That deflected off Zaharko wide of the goal. The Hawks move it back out. Little less than 6 minutes to play in the first period. Play goes into the Detroit zone. Lysiak's pass intercepted by Brent Peterson. Now Peterson ahead to Dale McCourt with a long shot. Esposito deflects that to the corner. Peter Martian after it. Hands it to Brown. Keith Brown just shot it out center ice. Reed Larson cleared it right back in. Esposito onto the goal, playing it to his defenseman Brown. Now Doug Wilson. Wilson's pass tipped to center ice. Larson bringing it right back in, driving it off the boards into the corner. Esposito out of the goal. Played it to Preston, Rich Preston. Shooting it in behind his own net again. The play deep in the Chicago end. And coming out with it again is Wilson. Now Doug Wilson. That puck took a crazy bounce. Foligno and Marsh had a little collision. Play loose at center ice. Preston shot it back into the Detroit end. Barry Miller fell down, got up in time to clear it, but not out. Here's Lysiak. His pass went right through Marsh. And the Wings' Foligno sends it up the left side. Joe Patterson took the long shot, deflected wide of the Chicago goal. Wilson bringing it right back for the Hawks. Into the Detroit end is Preston. Preston checked from behind by Patterson. Greg Fox held it in, but Harry Miller knocked it away. He starts Gary McAdam out. McAdam over the line, worked around Marks, took the shot, fired it wide. Now from the right point, Reed Larson. Larson, though, drove it off to the side of the goal. The centering pass by Curtin was knocked away, and the Hawks will bring it out. Now Preston ahead to Marks. John Marks over the line with Sharpley, deep into the Detroit zone. Barrett made the check on Sharpley, and the Wings, Reed Larson, fired it down the ice. Going back after it, Mulvey. Grant Mulvey in behind his own goal. Laid it up on the left side to Crossman and back to Mulvey. Now Mulvey, a big guy, over the line with a shot. And that deflected over the top of the goal. That came close. Barrett in behind the goal, doing some shoving there with Marks. They come to close quarters and have a conversation back of the Detroit goal, but it's all broken up in a hurry with the game tied 1-1. We'll be back in just a moment. Play goes in behind the Detroit goal. That's John Barrett being knocked away from the puck by Sharpley. Marks put it out in front, but Willie Huber stops that. A 3-on-2 move for the Wings now as Huber carries over the line. Took the shot. Esposito knocked it down and grabs his own rebound. In our first intermission, Sid is going to be talking with Mark Curtin, a fine young man who joined the Wings early on in the season. Jean Amel will take a look at him, the player profile, and Gilles Gilbert will be asked a question in the fan forum. That's our first intermission from here in Chicago. Sid, we were talking a little while ago about this team of 10-year-olds in Squirt AAA, the Crestwood Dodge Ram Chargers. 53 wins, 1 loss, 2 ties before they went into state play and won that championship.
Oh, they did win the state, too.
Oh, they won everything that came their way.
Good.
Probably the best Squirt team ever put together. Now here's Brad Smith playing it up to the side of the Chicago goal. It was loose there, and Zaharko knocked it out of danger. The Hawks will bring it back out center ice. Kerr clearing it back into the Detroit end. In after it, Jim Korn circling in behind his own goal and moving out. Now Korn, who's been playing up on a wing in the game, carries into the Chicago zone, laid it in behind the Hawks goal. Esposito stopped it there. Reggie Kerr picks it up. A quick pass coming out to Denis Savard. Back into the Detroit zone. Savard controlling the play. Hands it off to Zaharko. Zaharko took the shot, hit the goalpost off to the left of Lazinski, who was screened on it all the way. And the puck into the corner. They hold it there. Face off to the left of the Detroit net. President Tuxedo, the people's choice. When your next occasion calls for men's formal wear, stop by one of President Tuxedo's 11 convenient locations. President Tuxedo for the very finest in men's formal wear.
You know, the first part of this period was pretty well all Chicago. In the last 8 or 10 minutes, it's been pretty well even Steven. The Wings getting their licks. Chicago getting some good licks at Lazinski. Lazinski's played a very strong first period. A good up-and-down hockey game for a game that doesn't mean a thing to the Wings. Act the part of spoilers. I don't know what they can spoil for Chicago.
Now here's Rich Preston with a shot. Went wide of the Detroit goal. Hamel goes in behind his own net. Into the corner now to Reed Larson. Larson ahead to Dale McCourt. McCourt up the right side. Foligno carries over the line. He was knocked off the puck there. It was held in by Hamel, who took the long shot. Esposito stops that. Now the play held in at the line by John Ogrodnik, but tipped away from him, and Crossman up the left side to Lysiak. Tom Lysiak right along the line, turned around by Foligno. Here's Larson. They're 3-on-1. Larson right over the line with a shot, and he scores! And Reed Larson breaks a little scoring drought himself. And the Wings breaking down the ice lead it now 2-1.
I think Reed Larson and Mrs. Larson having that baby yesterday probably just changed Reed's thinking and playing hockey. He just come out of his own zone in a full charge. There was no way they were going to stop him. And the way he can rifle a puck, he moved in within about 35 feet, the top of the circle, and he beat Esposito cleanly on his glove side. Esposito moved his hand after the puck was in the net.
An unassisted goal for Larson, his 27th of the year at 17 minutes and 43 seconds.
That's for their baby girl, that one.
Ah, yes. Play comes back into the Detroit zone. Larson picks it up, scoops it back into the Chicago end. There'll be a icing call as back after it Brown, and the play will come back into the Detroit end. Well, Reed had gone a long time without a goal. He had to go back 13 games in February 27th when he scored his 26th against Edmonton. So he and Foligno, two guys that haven't had any luck around the net, have both put it together. And the Wings have come along, I'm going to say, rather strongly here in
yes, they have.
The last half of the period.
You know, when the Wings started to go sour, it's pretty well the time Curtin hurt his shoulder. Foligno stopped scoring. Larson stops. It's the last month when things started to really taper off real bad. The only fellow that was carrying things as far as the scoring, actually two of them, was Willie Huber and Dale McCourt. They were the only two with any offensive strength at all.
Now here's a quick pass from Huber up the Chicago zone. Dale McCourt checked from behind, still got the shot away, but it went wide. John Ogrodny golfed it into the corner. Mike Foligno goes in after it. Foligno's done more skating here in this first period than we've seen in a while, too. Maybe that goal got him going.
Well, a goal means an awful lot to a young hockey player, Bruce. No doubt he has been feeling the tightness probably of this here race. The Wings were right in it back 15 games ago, and they just saw everything go up in smoke, more or less, because they haven't been able to put a winning streak or a winning game together, really.
Well, you know, it's a sign of goaltending, Sid, as you've mentioned before, because for the first 5-10 minutes of this game, it was all Chicago, and Lazinski
come up with
actually kept them right in the hockey game, and then the Wings started to come on. And they've taken a 2-1 lead with 1 minute and 43 seconds still to go. Larry Lazinski. Now Curtin won the draw. Here's Barrett from the line with a shot knocked down before it got through. The Hawks started out. John Marks carrying to the Detroit blue line. Tried to work around Huber, couldn't do it. Play went in behind the Detroit goal. Lazinski dumped it into the corner. The Hawks go in after it. They scramble in along the boards. Mulvey knocked the puck loose. Curtin covered up, shot it in behind his own goal. John Barrett cleared it on the left side, but not out. The Hawks hold it in. In behind the goal is Marks. Marks tried to center it. Curtin knocked it away, and Willie Huber covers up and shoots it all the way down the ice. Brown will go back after it. There'll be an icing call. Red Wing player tripped right at the line, but he again took a bit of a dive. And Wayne Maxner is just with both arms open, pleading with the referee. He was actually tripped going across the blue line.
Well, it was going to be an icing play, and Patterson was not going to outrace the Chicago player for the puck. He was following it up more or less, and he was tripped out in center ice on a play that shouldn't have happened probably, and the referee decided to just let it go.
So we have 1 minute and 9 seconds still to go here in the first period. 2-1 Detroit. Foligno and Larson for the Wings. Higgins for Chicago. Tuesday, the Red Wings and the Calgary Club will be playing hockey. Our broadcast time on radio 9:25 Tuesday night from Calgary. Face-off will be in the circle to the right of the Detroit goal. Mike Foligno having words with his coach. The referee says, go ahead, drop the puck. He does. Savard sent it off to the side of the net. Cleared into the corner by Reed Larson. John Ogrodny taking a bumping along the boards. Here's Kerr picking it up. Took the shot, hit the post. It came out in front again. And Lazinski knocked it away from the short side. And there's going to be a penalty coming up to Larson. Reed Larson just turned around and stared at Bruce Hood that time. But he's going to draw the gate. And the Wings, with a 1-goal lead, will play short a man.
Well, it's awful tough playing this game of hockey when a referee lets one thing go and then calls another, and Bruce Hood just did that. He let a play go up through the middle, and then Larson, very, very light pull on a player after a couple chances out in front of the net. It's a case where Kerr comes in, turns around, he's got the angle, he shoots and hits the outside of the post. Larson standing out in front with Kerr, and he does pull him down, but it's a very innocent play to get him out of position.
So we're back to the live action, and the puck driven all the way down the ice into the Chicago zone. Doug Wilson back after it. Larson for hooking at 19:06. Now back into the Detroit zone. Denis Savard fell down. Kerr follows up, took it into the corner, deep in the Detroit end. His pass in along the boards. Kerr went in after it himself, played it back on the line. Doug Wilson on the right side to Murray with a shot. Lazinski stopped it, and on the rebound, the puck is driven into the net. It just bounced around in the goal mouth. Finally, Denis Savard lifted it into the empty goal.
Well, it bounced off the post and then bounced through the open part of the net. Denis Savard standing over at the other side. It's just amazing how this puck will treat the Wings unkindly. When Lazinski made the save, Kerr tried to put it in, hit the post, it bounced across through the open goal mouth. Savard was the only player on the other side. He just dumped it in the empty net to tie the score. And these are the kind that hurt. Just 20 seconds to go in the period.
Well, a power play goal for Denis Savard, his 28th goal of the year at 19 minutes and 40 seconds to tie the game at 2-2. Play goes back into the Chicago zone. Larson trying to put it out in front. He was jammed off the puck, and Lysiak starts back out. Just a couple of seconds to go. Hawks carry over the line, dumped it wide of the Detroit net as the buzzer goes to end the first period of play. So from here at the Chicago Stadium, Detroit goals by Mike Foligno and Reed Larson, Higgins and Savard for Chicago. And we have a 2-2 tie, and we'll be back in just a moment. So here at the Chicago Stadium, we have played 2 periods of hockey. The Detroit Red Wings trail now by a score of 3-2. Shots on goal in the second period, the Red Wings had 16, and they did carry the play through the first half of the period particularly. The Hawks had 14, scoring the goal by Higgins from Kerr and Savard at 18 minutes and 18 seconds. And Sid, it was a good goal.
It's been a good hockey game for 2 periods. Both clubs, the goaltenders have been the feature of the game. Lazinski's come up with so many big saves, and then the play would go right down, and Esposito would be called upon to make saves. So it's a goaltender struggle, and whoever can keep the puck out is going to win the hockey game.
I would like to think that the Red Wings have played one of their better hockey games in recent weeks here this afternoon. 1 week to tonight, or 1 week from today, actually, the Wings wind it all up against the Washington Capitals. That, as we mentioned earlier, will be our next telecast. We'll be with you from Washington next Sunday night at 7 o'clock, our telecast time, and then it'll be all over. The Wings this afternoon, I thought, came out and played like a team that maybe wants to get a little bit of the pride back.
Well, they're skating this afternoon, Bruce, and they're working, they're playing their positions. Mike Foligno has played the strongest game he's played in a month. The lines, everybody seems to be getting work. All 4 lines have been playing. All the defensemen have been playing. So I would say if there's one player that hasn't seen a lot of action, it was probably Barrett. Other than that, they're all getting a lot of action, and they're all chipping in. Glenn Hicks is skating and working the way we haven't seen him in a long time. It's been a good, solid 40 minutes, and it's a joy to see because we haven't seen 40 minutes of solid hockey for a long time.
In the first period, it was Mike Foligno and Reed Larson for Detroit. Higgins and Savard. Savard on a power play with 20 seconds to go in the period, and it ended 2-2. Well, it was a late goal in the second period, and we can take a look at it right now, Sid. It was a fine play by a veteran hockey player, Reg Kerr, as he dropped it off, and Higgins fired it home for his 24th goal of the season, his second of the hockey game.
It was probably the best play of all the goals scored. It was a little drop pass by Kerr back to Higgins. Larry Lazinski didn't have a chance at all. There was a screen out in front of him, and Higgins' shot caught just inside the far post. And I'm sure Lazinski was probably as surprised as anyone that it was in, but it was a great shot by Higgins and a great play by Kerr. How Savard got into the play, I don't know. He may have made the pass coming out of their own zone, but it was a real nice finish to a good breakaway.
Well, we've made mention of the fact that the Red Wings have a couple of players on the injured list. Paul Woods, of course, and Gilles Gilbert. And I meant to mention coming out of the fan forum that Gilles, probably one of the world's great left-handed golfers, wasn't too sure that Al Blade could understand him with that French accent, and they were having a good time before it was all over. But Gilles very likely will not be back in action this season, Sid. But he, along with the rest of the hockey club I know, kind of looking forward to a year away when they hope they can get things going in a little different direction.
Well, Lefty Wilson said today that Paul Woods is definitely through for the season because of his broken jaw and the cuts that he received the other day. He did mention, though, that Gilles possibly would play Wednesday, Bruce, so possibly they're going to bring him back and play him the last couple games.
Well, that's something we'll just... After 2 periods of play here in Chicago, the Red Wings trail the Chicago Blackhawks 3-2. Wings led 1-0 on a goal by Foligno. Higgins tied it. Reed Larson put them back in front 2-1. Then with 20 seconds to go in the first period, Savard on a power play. And then Higgins with 1 minute and 42 seconds to go put Chicago in the lead for the first time, 18-18 of the second period, with the Wings outshooting Chicago 16-14 in that second period. So Detroit has had 30 shots in the first 2 periods and Chicago 28. CTC makes purchasing Red Wings tickets easier than ever. Red Wings tickets are now available at all the CTC outlets, including Hudson's, K-Bombs, Randolph Travel Service, Windsor Arena, Fisher Theater, Connolly's Jewelers, the Ren Cellar, Showerman's Party Store, and Dickens Den.
You were talking about shots, Bruce. It just shows what yesterday's game must have been like. Detroit had 6 shots in the first period, 2 in the second, a total of 8 shots going into the third period. Here today in a wide open contest with both goaltenders playing real well, the Wings have had 30 to the Hawks 28. So it's been an up and down hockey game with good scoring opportunities by both clubs.
Red Wings back out onto the ice. We await the reappearance of the Chicago Blackhawks, who'll be making their move out here in a moment or so. I got a question for you, Sid. The answer, I think, will be easy. Mark Sawicki, a 9-year-old young man out of the Detroit area, dropped a note and asked if there has ever been a hockey game that went the entire 60 minutes without a penalty being called.
Boy, and I don't have the answer
to that.
I'm
sure there have been.
Yes, I would think there have been many a time. Especially back a few years ago, possibly tougher now because of the scrambly type of hockey that's played from time to time.
Well, I thought you'd have that answer right at the...
Well, I say yes, Mark, there has been many a game where there hasn't been a penalty call.
Yeah, well, I thought really that there'd be no hesitation on your part. You'd come right out there.
I was going to ask you a question. What does this game mean to the Chicago Blackhawks? Can they move up the ladder where their opponent in the first round of the playoffs would be different?
Well, Chicago coming into this hockey game with number 12 position. They have a total of 73 points. They are at the moment tied with Quebec, though Quebec has a game in hand. They are 3 points ahead of Pittsburgh, who are certainly in a position to catch them, and only 2 points behind Vancouver. So if it did anything, it might change around who is going to play who come playoff time in the first round.
There are the goaltenders, Esposito on the right, big Larry Lazinski on the left, both about the same size, both big men. Esposito's been one of the standouts here for Chicago for many, many years.
We have had a total of 8 penalties called in the game, 4 aside, and Brad Smith, Lauren Robideau have 5 seconds remaining in their major penalties for fighting, so they'll not be able to come out of the penalty box until the play is stopped. So the teams are at full strength. McCourt, Foligno, and Ogrodnik for the Wings. Savard and McCourt beat him on the draw. It comes back now to Willie Huber. Clearing it up the left side for Jean Hamel. Hamel fires it wink wide for Willie Huber, sends it out center ice for Dale McCourt. Ahead to Foligno. He handed it back to McCourt. Dale McCourt centering pass broken up by Doug Wilson. A good quick pass ahead to Savard. He lost the puck going into the Detroit end. And it's Mike Foligno, a long left wing pass. Ogrodnik took the long shot. Esposito knocked it away. And the puck sent back center ice. Willie Huber drives it right back in with another shot on the net that Esposito stops. Here's McCourt stealing it out in front. Check from behind. He handed it back to Huber. Huber's shot, though, was knocked down, and 3-on-2, the Hawks move out. Higgins back into the Detroit zone. Here's Kerr, went off his skate. Slid into the corner. Foligno picks it up, circles in behind the Detroit goal, and starts out. Now Mike Foligno on the charge over the Chicago blue line, trying to go through. Pulled off to the side, fired it to the open wing. Gary McAdams goes after it. Now McAdams handed it back to Dale McCourt. Back on the line to Perry Miller with a shot. Esposito knocks it down. Goes into the corner. Keith Brown's pass didn't come out. Came back to the line. Perry Miller holding it in. But the Wings didn't control it, and Doug Wilson clears it ahead. Savard back into the Detroit zone. Reed Larson knocked it away from him. Barry Miller getting it out center ice. Being bothered there. Kicked it back into his own zone for Larson. Had the stick pulled out of his hand. Now Larson moving his way to center ice. Dumping it off to the side of the Chicago goal. Bob Murray takes it off the boards. Now Murray heads back out. He dropped it off for Sharpley back into the Detroit zone. Glenn Sharpley a centering pass. Larson knocks it away. Starts Joe Patterson on the wings out. Patterson center ice. Here's Mark Curtin with it. Curtin stopped right at the Chicago blue line. Held it in. McAdam took a shot. Play went in behind the goal. McAdam just couldn't control it. And the Hawks turn out center ice. And the Hawk player Sharpley hauled down. Shot from the blue line. The Hawk fans didn't care too much for it. Now the Wings come back with Reed Larson. Turning back on his own line. Batting it out center ice. Gary McAdam takes it over the line with Curtin. Mark Curtin trying to go through. It's loose in front. There's going to be a penalty coming up to Chicago. And the Red Wings are going to have the extra man, and we'll be back with the Detroit power play in just a moment.
Zaharko gets caught with a big hook out here with McAdam trying to break into the line, in over the blue line.
Zaharko, number 28.
Right, he gets the hook on Curtin, really, and pull Curtin off the puck.
So Detroit with the extra man. Dale McCourt back at the left point. And his pass deflected up into the crowd off the stick of Tom Lysia. So the face-off remains just inside the Chicago blue line. The hooking call to Miles Zaharko, 2 minutes and 22 seconds into this, the second period. Or I'm sorry, third period.
A new combination out here for a power play. Nedemansky, Korn on the left side, Smith on the right side.
Big people. Dale McCourt goes in behind his own goal. Willie Huber and McCourt are the two-point men with Jim Korn and Brad Smith up front along with Nedemansky. Now Willie Huber, his pass tipped into the Chicago zone, went in offside, and they'll bring it back out over the Chicago line. The Red Wings have just 2 home games remaining at the Joe Louis Arena. Next Thursday, the Pittsburgh Penguins at 7:30. Next Saturday, the Buffalo Sabres at 1:30. Tickets available at the Joe Louis Arena, Hudson's, and all the CTC outlets. The idea, Sid, on the power play, I imagine, is for Mr. Korn and Smith to muscle their way in front of the goal.
Well, they have to get in the zone first and get possession.
Now here's Korn moving in with a shot that sailed over the top of the goal. Willie Huber held it in. A bouncing puck sent it into the corner for Brad Smith, in behind the Chicago net. Here's Smith carrying it back on the line with a pass to Huber with a shot. Oh, and that hit Korn and went into the corner. Smith digs it out of the corner, sets up Dale McCourt with a shot, and going low, grabbing that is Esposito. And again, a lot of pushing and shoving going on out in front of the Chicago net. But the Wings effectively handling the power play, and it took a good move by Esposito to keep them off the board there.
Well, the size of Jimmy Korn now. Jimmy Korn has been pushing with Fox out in front of the net, and he held his ground. You know, Willie Huber's shot went right through. Esposito made a pad save, an unbelievable save from a screen shot.
Keith Brown is doing a lot of the shoving in there for Chicago.
Here's a shot from just inside the blue line, and you don't see the action out in front of the net, but there's a lot of traffic out there. Jimmy Korn holding his ground. Esposito makes the save and holds onto the puck. Brad Smith over on the far side.
Now from the Detroit bench, Mark Curtin comes out to take the face-off, replacing Nedemansky. Still Korn and Smith on the wings with Huber and McCourt back at the point. Play deep in the Chicago zone. The Hawks won the draw, though. Greg Fox cleared it along the boards. Huber trying to hold it in, didn't do it. It slides all the way back into the Detroit zone with McCourt back after it. Sending it up the right side for Huber. Now Willie Huber, a long left wing pass. Korn reaches back to get it, takes it over the line. Here's Curtin. Laying it in behind the goal. Brad Smith given a check there by Lysiak. Smith still worked it back to Huber. He sets up Dale McCourt. McCourt with a shot. And a save made. It's loose right out in front. They jam away at it and they score. Mark Curtin has tied the game on the power play. It is 3-3.
And what a play Curtin made. He come across the front of it on his backhand, tried to jam it in, and Esposito beat him. It came right back out to him. He just moved it a little further over and then jammed it in the corner. A terrific shot by McCourt set this up. McCourt from just 5-10 feet inside the blue line gets the puck on the net, which means so much bounces back over to Curtin. Curtin moves out in front of the net by himself on his backhand. Tried to put it in. Esposito beat him, but then the puck come right back to Curtin. Then he had the whole net to put it in, and he just jammed it in the open side.
So Mark has his 16th goal of the season, a power play goal at 3 minutes and 41 seconds. And the game is a 3-3 tie. Play goes back into the Detroit zone. Perry Miller in behind his own goal. Clearing into the corner now to Larson. Larson's pass knocked down by Higgins, but Higgins himself trying to set up a point man. Played it all the way back out center ice with Murray back after it. Handing it to Higgins. He moved back into his own zone. Now winds up. Here's Tim Higgins with 2 goals in the game. Going into the corner in the Detroit end. Given a bump by Larson. Now Mike Foligno starts out. A 3-man rush for the Wings. 3-on-2. Over the line now is Ingerfield. Ingerfield's pass didn't get through. Goes into the corner. Murray broke it up there. Now stealing it out in front. Foligno with a shot. Oh, a backhand shot at Esposito. What a great move he made on that. And the score tied 3-3. We'll be back in a moment. Face off to the right side of Tony Esposito.
Esposito's biggest save of the game. Ingerfield had a chance to set up Obradnik and made a bad play out of it, but the puck worked right back out in front of the net. Foligno intercepted it, and on a backhand, he turned around and wheeled it. Had it been anywhere but on Esposito, it would have been in the net.
Now the game tied 3-3. Joe Patterson trying to hold it in the Chicago zone. Couldn't do it. Perry Miller knocked it away right at the Detroit line, and the Hawks bring it in offside. We have played just 4 minutes, 45 seconds of the third period, a 3-3 tie. Foligno, Larson, and Curtin for Detroit. Higgins, Savard, and Higgins again for Chicago. Been a lot of conversation between the Wings and the referee, Bruce Hood, and now Reed Larson talking with him, and Hood moves over to the scorer's bench, having a conversation right down below us relative to some item or another, perhaps a change in goal scoring, who knows. Face off just over the Detroit blue line. Puck was dropped unfairly, they state, and we'll go through it again. I think they wanted an assist on Larson's goal in the first period. I saw Mike Foligno over there shortly after the goal was scored. They made it unassisted. That's when 3 of them broke down the ice together.
Right. Right from the Detroit blue line, Larson went all the way down. He was the puck carrier, but whether somebody gave him the puck to get him started, I'm not sure.
Play into the Detroit zone. Larson belts it back out to center ice. Doug Wilson has it there. Now Sharpley shooting it back at the Detroit goal. Lazinski went in behind the net, didn't stop it. John Barrett gave Mulvey a ride in along the boards. They scramble into the corner, Sharpley and Curtin, and hold it long enough for a face-off, which will be to the left of the Detroit goal. Brad Smith. They just
Huber was taken out. I don't think Huber was on the ice. Brad Smith got the assist.
Huber was back on the point. Sunday, April 5th at 7 o'clock, the Detroit Red Wings slide back into action against the Washington Capitals. So you tune in for the live coverage Sunday, April 5th at 7 o'clock right here on TV 50 and on radio right here next Tuesday night, 9:25, our broadcast time from Calgary. So it'll be Brad Smith and Dale McCord assisting on Curtin's power play goal at 3:41. Now Brad Smith took a swipe at the puck. It's held in the Detroit end, but they hold it to the boards long enough for a face-off, which will take place in the circle off to the right of Larry Lazinski. Jim Korn, Nedemansky, Brad Smith, the forward line of the Wings. Puck came back to Zaharko with a shot. He fired it wide. Korn takes it off the boards. He's got Smith moving up the ice, but his pass came too late, and Smith in offside. Faceoff stays right at center ice. 14 minutes, 37 seconds remaining. Well, Detroit after today with 4 games. At Calgary Tuesday night, Pittsburgh Penguins at the Joe Louis Arena Thursday, Buffalo there next Saturday. We'll wind up a week from tonight at Washington. 3-3 tie here in Chicago. Way offside was Preston as he was deep in the Detroit end when the pass met him, so the face-off again remains at center ice. Let's take 5 seconds right now for station identification.
This is WKBD TV 50 Detroit.
Here at Chicago Stadium, 3-3 tie. Dale McCourt flipped the puck into the Chicago end. Defenseman Bob Murray sends it back out center ice. Now Lysiak carrying into the Detroit end. Miller tipped it away. It came loose, but Reed Larson picked it up and cleared it the length of the ice. It goes right to Esposito, which prevents an icing call. Murray again in behind his own goal. Now Lysiak moves out again. Lysiak ahead. This is Peter Marsh over the line. He's hooked by Foligno. There'll be a penalty coming up now to Mike Foligno of Detroit. And a pretty good penalty, really, because he prevented the Chicago player from going right in. And we'll be back with a Hawks power play in just a moment. 5 minutes, 58 seconds, the time of Mike Foligno's hooking penalty.
And Brad Marsh with just a break of speed, taking a pass from Lysiak up through the middle. Mike had to get the hook on him to bring him back to reality and got the penalty.
So we go back to the live action. The Wings winning the draw on the Detroit end, clear at the length of the ice. Now it's knocked away. Dale McCourt controls. Here's McCourt moving away from one man. McCourt stick handling, doing quite a job. Checked from behind, then took it away again. Gets it out to center ice. McCourt doing the job. Reed Larson going well up the ice, but Esposito stopped it in behind his own goal. Brent Peterson, Dale McCourt. Now that's Murray starting out. Bob Murray clearing it ahead now to Savard. Denis Savard, the rookie, into the corner, fell down. And it's John Barrett, the Red Wing rookie, who clears it all the way back into the Chicago end. Long center ice pass now to Reg Kerr. Kerr back into the Detroit zone. Kerr going to the corner with it. In behind the goal, Denis Savard. Puck hit the side of the Detroit net. And they'll keep the face-off in the Detroit end off to the right of the Red Wing goal with 57 seconds left in Mike Foligno's penalty. Game tied at 3-3.
A lot of quick changes here by both clubs. Perry Miller's come out with Willie Huber to help kill off this penalty. Sean Hamel and Mark Curtin up front.
Perry Miller's been holding a running conversation with the referee, Bruce Hood, and they both seem to be smiling a moment ago. It can't be anything too serious. Play off to the right of the Detroit net. Lysiak in against Curtin. Curtin fell down. Here's Doug Wilson with a shot. He shot it wide. On the right point, now Murray. Bob Murray drilled another one. Lazinski knocked that away. It's loose out in front and moving in after it. John Hamel, and Hamel sends it out to center ice. And the Hawks came close. 40 seconds left in the Detroit penalty. Puck cleared into the Detroit zone. Perry Miller bounces it back out center ice. The Hawks have to come onside. A half a minute left in the Red Wing penalty. Wilson back at his own blue line. Knocked away from him by Curtin. He has to go back in behind the Chicago goal to get it. He lost it right out in front. Picks it up himself and starts out. Now Wilson heading into the Detroit zone. He's upended on the check by Miller, but the Hawks have the play. Lysiak back to Murray. It's knocked away and sent down the ice by Curtin. And Wilson has to come back after it, and the crowd getting on the Hawks a bit. Now it's Marsh starting out again. Here's Marsh going into the Detroit zone. Marsh laid it in behind the Detroit net. Penalty is over. The Wings back at full strength. Willie Huber sends it ahead. Mike Foligno's out at center ice. The pass didn't get through to him. Lysiak turning back again for Chicago into the Detroit zone, trying to work through, and Huber just took it away from him. Bounces it back into the Chicago end. Having trouble with it was Harko. He handed it off now to Keith Brown, being chased by Ogrodnik. Brown played it up along the boards. Mike Foligno knocked it away. Foligno trying to center it. They jam it in along the boards, and the whistle stops the play. Face-off will stay in the Chicago end. We have now 11 and a half minutes to play in the third period of a 3-3 tie.
And I'll read a few more names if you don't mind, Bruce. Jim and Joyce Wickens from Livonia want to say hi. And Bill and Kathleen Frazino want to say hi to the Rossonville Ford Rejects, whatever that group is.
No,
Greetings from Leo Mahakalis, for John and Nellie and Steve. Carol Elwood like to say hello to Rick Kendall and Mike Lalonde.
Now the play in behind the Chicago goal. Glenn Sharpley bringing it out center ice. His pass too far out in front of Mulvey. So John Barrett of the Wings picks it up, sweeps it up the right side to Reed Larson. Larson having trouble with it, did work it out now, and it's taken by Korn. Jim Korn bumping with Mulvey knocked him to the ice. The Wings' Netamansky clears up the right side, and Brad Smith golfs it into the Chicago end. Goes in behind the Hawks goal. Miles Zaharko has it there and starts back for Chicago. Zaharko bringing it out center ice. Clearing it in behind the Detroit net, but the play went in well offside. Larry Zub was very active in the Red Wing Forum Club, has been president, maybe still is. He helps to arrange the trips that are made and couldn't make it into Chicago and the entire...
I've said hello to him for somebody today.
Yeah, I know that.
And Gary Innes, a young gentleman that's up in the press box in Detroit, is making his first trip to Chicago. He's over here to watch the game.
Now the face-off right at center ice. Dale McCourt. John Ogrodnik worked it back on the line. John Hamel clearing it into the corner in the Chicago end. Greg Fox goes in behind his own net after it. Right wing pass to Higgins. Here now Tim Higgins moving back into the Detroit zone. He dropped it off, and it was broken up by Foligno, and 3-on-2. The Wings move back. Dale McCourt over the line. Here's McCourt, handed it to Ogrodnik. He laid it out in front, but Foligno had not come up on it. They go in behind the net. Ogrodnik battling to get it out in front, but it's dumped back down the ice, and Willie Huber couldn't get to it. Puck handed off to Kerr. Here's Kerr with a shot. He scores!
Coming out of the Chicago zone. Puck bounced off. Kerr comes in, and he hit the top crossbar. He beats Lazinski. What a shot from just to the top of the circle, off the top crossbar, down into the net. A terrific shot by Kerr.
Willie Huber was the only man back. He was doing what he could to break up the passing, and then Kerr just fired the shot.
Willie was going to go for the puck first and then realized that he would have been beaten on it, so he just backed up. He did what he could do. Kerr from the top of the circle really got all the wood on it, off the top crossbar.
So Kerr has his 28th goal on the season. Higgins and Kerr have been the two men that have been poisoned in the Wings. 9 minutes, 46 seconds. Kerr from Higgins. 28th goal of the season for Kerr to give Chicago a 4-3 lead. Play broken up by Lysiak inside the Detroit zone, off the right side to Rich Preston and Patterson. Joe Patterson took him off the puck. Perry Miller failed to get it out. Here's Miller with it again. Now Perry Miller goes in behind his own net. Up the right side to Gary McAdam. McAdam's pass now to Mark Curtin. Curtin laid it to the Chicago line. The Hawks broke it up there. Loose puck over the line. Marsh bounced out in front of the Detroit goal. It came back to the line again. Mulvey fired a shot wide. Now Doug Wilson laid it out in front of the goal. Larson knocked it away. Coming right back, Joe Patterson ahead to Curtin. He drives it into the corner, going in after Gary McAdam. McAdam had the play right there. Nobody else on the ice. Everybody else is over to Detroit bench. And still McAdam made the play, and Korn took a shot, and that's knocked away. McAdam waited for the Red Wings to change. A centering pass broken up in front. Here's Netamansky holding it in. Off to McAdam, right out in front. Korn. Oh, and Korn wide open in front of the goal, and Esposito made the save on him, and Jim Korn just turned around, got the puck right there, and Esposito on his knees just didn't give him any room to shoot.
That's too bad. Jimmy Korn just picks up a puck right at the edge of the goal crease. Esposito down on his hands and knees. And he really didn't have anywhere to put it. He tried to get it up, but he didn't succeed. And he has played a strong game, too, for the Wings this afternoon. Jimmy Korn playing up on left wing.
So the face-off will be to the right side of the Chicago goal. Gary McAdams said he did himself kind of a job out there. He
sure
controlled
did.
that puck in the Chicago end until the entire team changed and still made the play. Now Glenn Sharpley breaks up a Detroit pass, clears out center ice, gives it to John Barrett. Barrett scoops it back in. It went off Zaharko into the corner. Miles Zaharko back after it. John Mark shoved off the puck by Brad Smith. Smith battling to hold it in the Chicago end. Did so, sent it in behind the goal. Bob Murray, though, played it off the boards, and Mulvey starts out. Mulvey drops it back. Zaharko from center ice with a shot, and Lazinski steers into the corner. Willie Huber in after it. Now Nedomansky, a three-man rush for the Wings. Nedomansky over the line, drove a shot. Oh, he fired it wide. In behind the goal, Korn trying to center it. They battle off to the side of the net, and the play will stay in the Chicago end. We have a pause in the action. The Hawks lead 4-3. We'll be back in a moment. Play loose at center ice. Puck flipped into the Detroit zone. John Ogrodnik goes in after it, just lifts it back to the center ice zone again. Now the Hawks, Keith Brown took a long bouncing shot. Lazinski stopped that. Mike Foligno turns out. Here's over the line, Dale McCourt. Oh, he fired the shot from some distance out, and Esposito stayed right with it as McCourt took a perfect pass. Now Higgins back into the Detroit end with a shot that Lazinski stops, and he grabs the rebound and holds onto it.
And that hurt. The one Lazinski got was up probably on the inner arm, and he is hurting a little bit, but what a save Esposito made on a fine shot by McCourt. You know, the Wings haven't skated like this, Bruce, in the last month. They've been just up and down all night long, or all afternoon long.
They've won one game, and that was a come from behind last 30-second effort to Winnipeg. Had they played in the last 16.
Dale McCourt take a perfect pass up through the middle, and he got rid of it right from the top of the circle. What a save Esposito made.
Started to say, had they skated like this in those 16 games, played this kind of hockey,
we'd be fighting for a playoff spot.
Right. Play goes in behind the Detroit goal. Cleared up the left side. John Ogrodnik heads out. Drops a good pass to Mike Foligno. Now Foligno to McCourt. Back over the line. McCourt went by his man. Put it right out in front, but coming back, Greg Fox broke that up. And the Hawks try to move it out. They do. Firing it back into the Detroit end. They wave off the icing, so Reed Larson heads back after it. Now Larson pulled away from one check by Savard. Flipped it ahead. Ogrodnik over the line. Here's a chance for Foligno, and his shot knocked away. Goes into the corner. Ogrodnik got it loose. Back to Foligno, but Foligno didn't hold it. And Savard heads back down the ice. Went into the Detroit zone, but when he turned away from Miller's check, he lost the puck. Larson heads back into the Chicago end. Shoots it into the corner. We have 7 minutes to play in the game. Dale McCourt knocked it away, but it'll be taken by Marsh. Puck came out center ice. Rich Preston picks it up, goes into the Detroit zone. Now Detroit's Dale McCourt. Flipping it back into the Chicago end. Murray has it there. The Hawks, Peter Marsh. He played it over 2 lines offside. So it'll come back inside the Chicago zone. Well, next Sunday, as we mentioned, our final telecast of the season from Washington, 7 o'clock. A game that may or may not be big to the Washington Capitals. And during the course of that game, in one of the intermissions, we're going to show you some of the fun we have taping intermission highlights.
Some of my goof-ups?
No, not your goof-ups. I don't think you've got one this season. They couldn't find it. Wayne Maxner is a good part of it.
Right.
Face off just inside the Chicago blue line. Mark Curtin kicked away at the puck. The Wings try to hold it in. They did for the moment. Gary McAdam. It slipped away from him. Greg Fox played it in behind his own net, and Bob Murray cleared it ahead to Lysiak. He didn't get over the line, but now it is cleared to center ice. Marsh's pass knocked away. Here are the Red Wings. Mark Curtin picking it up. Mark Curtin has got him over the line. It slid away from him. And Murray shoots it back to the Detroit line. Willie Huber up the left side to Hicks. He was checked before he could get through. Willie Huber at the Detroit blue line. Hands it off now to Barrett. John Barrett sweeping it along the boards off to the side of the Chicago goal. Greg Fox in after it. Now Lysiak up the left wing to Marsh. Peter Marsh into the Detroit zone. Took a shot. Lazinski stopped that, then knocked away the rebound. Fired by Preston. And he rather wisely grabs it the 3rd time.
Fine save. He just holds his ground right at the corner of the net. And lucky he didn't flop around because the puck come right back out. He just stood there, and the next one was right into him, too. Good save by Lazinski.
5 minutes, 46 seconds to go here in the 3rd period. 4-3, Chicago leads.
I'd feel bad, Bruce, if I didn't get these last few names in. Vicky Frazino wants to say hello to Derek and Kelly and to David and Danielle. Ed, Ron, and Bill, Sue, Mary, and Sandy from Marie and Joan, Red Wing Forum Club. Bev Moore would like to say hello to Ron, Lorraine, Rod.
Here's Sharpley right out in front with a shot deflected wide of the goal. They battle in along the boards. Ingerfield cleared it in behind the net, and Perry Miller starts out. Ingerfield up the left side. Too far for Korn. Perry Miller takes over center ice again. Up the right side to Brad Smith. Took the long shot way wide. Puck bounced back to the line. Perry Miller, another shot, and Smith was there, just couldn't reach it. Reed Larson holding it in. Goes into the corner. John Marks picks it up, and now the Hawks Glenn Sharpley. Over the line, Patterson. Patterson took the shot. He fired it wide as he cruised right in, and now the wings start back. Korn up the left side. Ingerfield slowed up at the line, and the play went in offside, and we'll be back after we pause for this message. From the Chicago Stadium, 5 minutes to play in the hockey game. 4-3, Chicago leads. Good, closely played hockey game throughout the 55 minutes we've played thus far.
Great goaltender.
That's right. Now here's Higgins. Higgins moving right out in front of the goal, and Lazinski stopped him. Mike Foligno up the right side. The puck came out to the line, knocked back in by Zaharko. Kerr holds it in along the boards. Played it into the corner. Higgins has it there. Huber has him pretty well tied up. The puck loose in behind the net. Going in after it, Savard. Now Denis Savard put it out in front. Kerr was knocked down in front of the goal. Dale McCourt sweeps it up the left side. Ogrodnik over the line with a shot. Esposito blocked it. It went high in the air. Bounced into the corner. They take it in along the board. Struggle there for it, and the play stopped. And Esposito had no idea where that was. President Tuxedo, the people's choice. When your next occasion calls for men's formal wear, stop by one of President Tuxedo's 11 convenient locations. President Tuxedo for the very finest in men's formal wear.
Just the type of a hockey game it's been. John Ogrodnik testing Esposito, and Esposito making the save and just standing there, and the puck bouncing straight up in the air. And he had no idea where it was and come down behind the net, but straight up off his body. Just before that, Luzinski made a big save off Kerr.
Ogrodnik has scored a lot of goals in that same position, that same area. Now the Hawks move it out to center ice. Tom Lysiak into the Detroit zone, trying to go around. He did. He takes a backhand shot. The save made by Lazinski again. Lysiak in behind the goal, digging it loose, put it out in front, and Lazinski just reached out and grabbed it. Huber knocked Lysiak to the ice. Good thing he did, because he was in complete control of things.
Lysiak is a Dipsy doer. He's the leading scorer on this hockey club with 72 points, just ahead of Savard. But he can really move the puck. He's a lot like Wayne Gretzky when he gets in deep. He can Dipsy do and get by players. Great passer.
So the face-off will stay in the circle off to the left of the Detroit goal. 4 minutes and 7 seconds to play in the hockey game. 4-3. Chicago with that one-goal lead. Curtin tied it on a power play in the third period, and then Reggie Kerr at 9:46 to make it now 4-3. Reed Larson just dumps the puck all the way down the ice. It's going off to the side of the Chicago goal. Greg Fox in to play it. Laid it into the corner for Keith Brown. Play knocked away by Larson. Came back to the line. Nedomansky drops it there for Mark Curtin. Larson goes deep into the corner. Put it right out in front. Here's a pass to Curtin with a shot, and Esposito got to that. Woo, a pretty play by the Wings in close. And it took a great move by Tony Esposito, son.
Beautiful play, beautiful pass out to Curtin, and Curtin got a shot away just while he was being bothered by a Chicago player, but Esposito, that big body, and moved over, made the save, then jumped on the loose puck.
So the face-off stays this time to the right of the Chicago net. Perry Miller and Larson back inside the blue line. Curtin, McAdam, and Nedomansky up front now for Detroit. They're down by a goal. Puck lay right there along the edge of the circle. Sharpley picks it up, cleared it to the line. Nedomansky had it and lost it, and Zaharko bounces it back into the Detroit end. Lazinski plays that very carefully on the hop. Perry Miller sent it up the left side. Gary McAdam bumping along the boards, got it loose, kicked it out to Curtin. Now Mark Curtin drops it back. Perry Miller sweeps it up the right side. Nedomansky still at center ice. Nedomansky working away from Sharpley, missed a check but lost the puck, and Grant Mulvey moves back into the Detroit end. His pass knocked away by Larson. Curtin in behind the goal. Perry Miller swept it up the left side, and McAdam taps it out to center ice. We have 3 minutes to play in the game. 4-3, Chicago leads. Miller's pass up the left wing to Gary McAdam. He lost it, and the Hawks bring it back. Sharpley tied up, trying to cut in on the Detroit goal. Miller played it back out center ice. Going after it, Curtin. Zaharko knocked it away. Now John Marks dropped the puck. It's taken by Curtin. Curtin just backhands it into the Chicago end. The Wings changing on the move. And Chicago coming out of their own zone. Here's John Marks down the left wing. Play went into the Detroit zone. Barrett in after it. Cleared instead to Jim Korn. Korn out in front of his own goal. Willie Huber covers up. Now Huber, a long pass. Korn couldn't get to it. Dale McCourt drove it back in offside. And the play will come out over the Chicago line. Before the Red Wings' next home game, have dinner on the 4th level in the Executive Lounge. For dinner reservations at the Joe Louis Arena, call 963-4851. We have 2 minutes, 20 seconds to play. A different line on the ice right now with McCord in between Brad Smith and Jim Korn. Now Savard of Chicago bounces the puck off to the side of the Detroit net. Lazinski hands it to Willie Huber. Huber ahead, too far for Dale McCourt. Savard drives it in behind the Red Wing goal. Huber back after it. Up the right wing now for Brad Smith. Smith playing it out center ice. Here's Dale McCourt. He's got Korn on the move. Korn over the line. Korn with a shot. He shot it wide. It comes off the boards to center ice. Huber hands it there to Barrett. Barrett ahead. Dale McCourt stopped by Korn right at the line. And the Hawks pick it up. Now Denis Savard waited. Still playing with it at center ice. Shot it back in offside. So the play remains in the center ice zone. Joe Louis Arena, 4 beautifully decorated areas to accommodate all of your special needs. Banquets, business meetings, wedding receptions for parties of 50 to 750. You call the Joe Louis Arena, 963-4851. Time becomes so important now, Sid.
Yes, it certainly does. I was just going to make a remark about Denis Savard, the rookie over here. He's a talented boy. Every time he's on the ice, he puts a lot into the hockey game. The people notice him. He carries the play so well.
Now McCourt between Foligno and Ogrodnik. Huber and Larson on the blue line. Play goes into the Chicago zone. Lazinski coming pretty well out of the Detroit net. They may lift him if they can keep the play in the Chicago end, but the Hawks' Greg Fox takes over. Now Greg Fox up on the left side to Marsh. Peter Marsh scooping it out center ice. Taken there by Preston. And the play went into the Detroit end with Lysiak ahead of the pass, offside. But that'll keep the face-off just at the Detroit blue line, so Lazinski remains in the Red Wing goal. Out of town, the New York Islanders defeated Washington 5-4, and the Philadelphia Flyers over Hartford 4-1. Well, Washington lost at home, and so did Hartford.
A big loss for Washington because they are 1 point out of a playoff position.
I'd say right now that there are 4 teams, 3 definitely eliminated, and Hartford not too far from it. Detroit, Colorado, Winnipeg, and Hartford. That'll leave teams like Washington, Toronto, New York, Edmonton fighting for that last playoff position. We have a minute to go in the hockey game. Now here's John Ogrodnik carrying it back down the boards on the left side. Lazinski coming out of the goal, and Greg Fox has the puck. The net is empty. Here's Murray deep in his own zone. Puck stopped at the line by Willie Huber. He bounced it in behind the Chicago goal. Greg Fox played it off the glass. Not out. It bounced in front of the net again. Murray laid it to the line. It came out center ice. Back after Curtin, giving it to Larson. A half a minute to go. Here's Reed Larson from center ice with a shot. Esposito stopped it. And it's taken again by Murray. Murray lifts it down the ice. Back after it, Larson. Reed Larson playing it ahead. That's knocked away. Now Murray shooting it back into the Detroit zone. Huber goes in with McPatterson. They take it in along the boards, deep in the Detroit end, holding it there. 5 seconds to go. And this game is going to end as a 4-3 victory for the Chicago Blackhawks, despite one of the better performances the Detroit Red Wings have shown throughout a good part of the season. So they are out congratulating Tony Esposito, as well they should, the Blackhawks. But in the Red Wing end tonight, Larry Lazinski played a very strong hockey game. We are going to be back to recap it all for you after we pause now for this message. First period, 16 in the second, 18 in the third. That's a total of 48 shots on goal. The Blackhawks 41 shots in the direction of Larry Lazinski, and it was a bounce of the puck here and there that really made the difference in the hockey game, and I would say including the winning goal. After Mark Curtin had tied the game on a power play, It was Kerr that took a pretty pass from Higgins, but the puck took a bad bounce in the Chicago zone and came loose to the Hawks, who then moved it down the ice, and Kerr finished it off, a goal that we'll be taking a look at in just a moment. Very quickly, I'll tell you that we'll be on our way to Calgary for the game against the Calgary Flames Tuesday night. And we'll be with you on radio 9:25 with the broadcast of the Calgary-Detroit game. Then Thursday, the Wings return home to meet the Pittsburgh Penguins. Errol Thompson's first return to the Joe Louis Arena since the trade. Then Saturday, the Buffalo Sabres, an afternoon game, and a week from today, our next telecast, 7 o'clock, against the Capitals at Washington. And I understand now that we are not going to be able to show that final goal, so we'll just tell you that it was scored by Kerr. They named the 3 stars as Tim Higgins, number 3, Dale McCourt, number 2, and the first star was young Savard. So that's the story of the game here from Chicago Stadium. This is Bruce Martin speaking for Sid Abel, our producer-director Toby Cunningham, inviting you to join us 1 week from tonight on television at 7 o'clock for the game between the Capitals and the Red Wings, and next Tuesday night on radio from Calgary, the Red Wings and the Calgary Flames at 9:25. Again, today's final score, Chicago Blackhawks 4, Detroit Red Wings 3.